Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a big topic. It's called What Did I Do to Heal, or What I Did to Heal. So I want to preface this video with a couple of things. The first one is obviously there's not one thing that was just, aha, I'm cured. Obviously, if that was the case, there wouldn't be these issues with these drugs. There would be a so-called cure or something that would work for everybody across the board and, quickly fix these nervous system issues. But as we all know, that's not how it works. But I've talked about it in other videos, and I do believe that things are cumulative. So small things that you can do over a long period of time that contribute to general health and a soothing of the nervous system, I do believe make a difference. But again, it's a journey, and it's something that does take a while for a lot of people to go back to that recovered phase, or feeling like yourself and feeling normal. The second thing I want to say is I've decided to start coaching. So I had made another video about this where I talked about how I am starting with Dr. Joseph Wittdoring's practice. I'm currently in training for that, and I'm not sure exactly when it's going to officially launch, but I am able to do some coaching on the side. And so I decided to do that because I've had more and more and more people reach out to me through social media and through YouTube wanting to talk to me. That's why in my recent videos I've said, if you want to reach me privately, here's my email. But I'm finding out that I'm already not able to keep up with the comments on the videos. And so the email, that's becoming another thing where people are asking me a lot of questions in an email, and I'm just spending so much time emailing back and forth. And my time is limited, because I am a single mom and I've got a lot going on. And I've had a lot of people ask me about coaching. And so I decided that I'm going to do it for now. My schedule will be Monday to Friday, 1 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And so I will put in the description of this video a link if you're interested in booking. So I will have a 15-minute free consult just to find out if we're a good fit and what your needs and wants are and what you're looking to get out of a session. Then I'll offer 30-minute and 60-minute. And my rates are quite a bit lower than other places you'll find online. And so I wanted people to be able to have access to, a coaching session if they need one, whether it's just a one-time thing or an ongoing thing. So like I said, I will put a link in the description, and you will be able to just log into my calendar and book an appointment. So I'm excited to start doing that. Really looking forward to it. I've already started, and it's been a really great experience. So I wanted to mention that as well. So I did make some notes on my phone, so I'm going to be referencing them. Sorry, my nose is quite stuffed up, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So I want to start with what didn't help. So the first one is supplements. I know supplements can really make a difference for some people. For me, there was not one supplement that I could say, I really feel like this is making a difference. I easily spent over $1,000 in supplements. I can't even remember them all now, but I tried multiple different vitamins and minerals, specifically B vitamins, because I had read on Reddit that someone had cured themselves of akathisia with niacin flushes, so vitamin B3. And so I jumped on that bandwagon. I tried the niacin flushes. I had no idea that it could cause you to faint, and that's what happened to me. I took too high of a dose, and I just went for the floor at my grandma's house, and she had to catch me. And it kind of made me feel good. Some people don't like niacin flushes. I enjoy them, but obviously in that situation I took too much. But when you get just the right amount, it's kind of a pleasant feeling. But I wouldn't say it took away anything or really made a significant difference to these withdrawal type symptoms. And then the forums they heavily recommend magnesium and fish oil. I tried those. I tried multiple forms of magnesium. I tried Epsom salt baths. I tried magnesium threonate, which is supposed to be good for the brain. I tried magnesium glycinate, which is supposed to be good for relaxing the muscles. Didn't really find they made a huge difference. I tried fish oil. Didn't notice anything with that. And then I tried a bunch of other ones. So just off the top of my head that I can remember, I tried taurine. I tried N-acetylcysteine. I tried inositol, which is supposed to be good for, a natural remedy for OCD, back when I thought this was just a simple OCD thing, not fully believing it was a drug thing. And so I tried that. I could go back and check I have probably 2 tins full of supplements that I bought. I tried phosphatidylserine, all kinds of things. And I wouldn't say that there was one that I was like, I really feel like this is making me feel a little bit better. I'm going to reorder. That didn't happen with any of them. But I know supplements have helped some people. So just not helpful for me. The next thing is different tests. So of course, I used to be one of those people who was on the forums all the time reading success stories and, reading in depth the thread of those success stories. What did this person do? What was their magic potion that made them better? What test did they have done to discover what was going on at a deep level? And there were some people who had success with different tests. So I spent, again, like probably $1,500 supplements. I spent over $1,500 on tests. There was three in particular that I had that I want to mention that had helped other people with these drug injuries. And I'll kind of describe what happened to me. So the first one was SpectraCell. If you're unfamiliar with SpectraCell, it's like a full vitamin and mineral panel, but it doesn't look for the levels in your blood. It looks for them in your cells, like what levels of these vitamins and minerals are reaching the cells. And nothing spectacular came out of my results. I was borderline low in vitamin B2, so riboflavin, coenzyme Q10, and there was another one. And I did, I think, try supplementing some of them for a while, but again, I didn't notice any significant difference. The second one I had was the OAT test, so organic acids testing. And there were a couple things that showed up abnormal on that for me. I can't remember. I should have my tests in front of me, but I don't. But nothing was like, wow. But I was high in, I believe it was like adrenaline or norepinephrine, one of those. And then also it was not a catalyst, that's not the right word, but like a cofactor or something of dopamine. And so that stood out to me because there is a suspected link between akathisia and dopamine. I don't know if that's been proven or not. I'm not sure. So I found that interesting. And of course, when you go into these fight or flight modes from these drug injuries and withdrawals, it wasn't crazy to me that like my adrenaline was really high because I can physically feel it in my body, and it's way more than just an anxiety reaction, as we all know. So, but there was nothing. And I think another one was the inability to metabolize fatty acids. I didn't know if that was really relevant or not. My naturopath didn't really, of course, a lot of people don't understand these injuries, but she didn't really suspect that it was contributing to what I was going through because she knows my symptoms and what I've told her has went on with me. So I had organic acids testing done. Some people have found those very beneficial. They supplemented or treated whatever was showing up, and it did make a difference. For me, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot I could do that I can remember from my results. And I was so scared. I became scared. I should say that when I was taking a lot of the supplements, that was before I had akathisia. So if you know my story, I had a dual withdrawal. So I had just a first withdrawal from SSRIs after 7 years of consecutive use. And I was bad then, but I wasn't sensitive to anything until I then reinstated, got akathisia, was polydrugged, and took benzos. And then it became to where I was like hyper reacting to stuff. So I should say that the majority of the supplements and stuff I tried were before my reinstatement. So again, I had this organic acids test, and I don't remember if there was anything specific that I could have taken or done, but I was too scared to take anything at that point. So, and then the third test I had was live blood analysis. I did, again, on the forums, read something about how someone had live blood analysis done. They were very protracted, and they just had to correct some deficiencies and imbalances in their body, and they healed. So I was like, I gotta have this done. So I had it done. My daughter also had it done. She's only 1, and actually more came up on hers than mine. She had some gut stuff going on, and it was nothing like crazy, but mine was really like insignificant in every way. Although I should say my naturopath, the one who did that, did say that you could see extra histamine in, like, you can watch. So they take your blood, a blood sample, and they put it under a microscope, like a high powered microscope, and you can like watch your blood in real time and the cells floating around. And so they point out, it looks like Cheerios floating around in milk or water. They put it on like a TV screen, and you could see there were these kind of larger clumps floating around. And she said that's histamine. So I also thought that was interesting because a lot of people, as you probably know, who are in specifically benzo withdrawal, but it can also be from other psychiatric drugs, have excess histamine. And again, people have suspected that that is also linked to akathisia. So all of those were interesting to me, but I wouldn't say that there was, maybe if I would have taken ABC supplement or whatever treatment they recommended, maybe it would have made a difference. But at that point, I was so scared to take anything. It was just more for my knowledge. I wanted to know if there was anything really significant going on in my body. So I just wanted to mention that. Another one, so I wrote down deliverance, and I don't know if that's even the right word, or exorcism. So I've mentioned this in other videos. I felt like an evil entity had taken over my body, specifically because my mind was I had just so much evil stuff in my mind for so long, and it just would never ever stop. And, of course, well-meaning people had said, this is dark spirits, this is evil entities. And so I went to 3 different churches, actually 4, or I had two come to me. Sorry. So probably, yeah, I think 4 in total, where I would just walk into a church and be like, I need people to like pray over me, pray out these spirits. And so I had that done multiple times, didn't make a difference. My own family gathered together and put oil on my head and crosses and all kinds of stuff. Like I had all of that done, and none of it ever made a difference. And on the one hand, I was relieved because I was like, okay, yeah, this is the drugs, and I need to just follow the trajectory of how people have healed from these drugs. But another part of me was like, why can't it just be more simple where they can just pray this away, So I had to mention that because people, again, I've seen in the forums where people talk about how this is a spiritual battle. So anyway, take with that what you want. TMS, that's another one. So transcranial magnetic stimulation. If you're unfamiliar with that, they call it a non-drug treatment for depression and OCD. And so I thought, oh, maybe it can help me with this. And I was able to get insurance to cover it. They basically put this like big magnet onto your head. They like map it out based on, I can't remember. They put this cap on your head. I was so bad that I can hardly remember. And they map out something with your head. I don't remember what they're looking for or how they map it out. But then they put this giant magnet on and they like pulsate it, and it's supposed to activate an area of the brain that's they suspect is inactive because of your symptoms or something. That could be oversimplified and not exactly right. I can't remember. But that's the premise. And you're supposed to get 40 treatments over 40 days. And I made it to day 11. And I'm like, not only do I not find this helpful, I actually think it's making me worse. And then I discovered, there are support groups online for TMS injured people. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. And I went home. So I did not find that helpful. Again, there have been people who have akathisia, and I've read that they found TMS helpful. So again, of course, it's not one size fits all, one answer for everybody. Okay, and then more drugs did not help. So again, there were stories online of people who had reinstated their original drug, tried a different drug, tried multiple drugs, needed benzos and then antidepressants, and were able to stabilize and feel better. And so I thought, well, maybe that'll be me, because by the time I reinstated, I was already off meds for 2.5 years. And so, I had no windows in my first withdrawal. And I was so frustrated and so sick of suffering that I was like, I'm just going to try what these other people did. So I, was in private conversations with people who had stabilized and were living functional lives. And I'm like, I'm going to be one of those people. And I had formed some friendships in the communities at that point. And then I had other people saying, do not touch those drugs again. And I was just so confused. And so I had tried in total 8 different drugs, including antipsychotics, antidepressants, benzos, and anti-seizure medications. And all of them made me worse. So that did not help for me. Although I should say benzos helped for 3 weeks. Then they started turning on me and going paradoxical, true paradoxical reactions. And I had to be cold turkeyed off those in the hospital. So, and then the last one is CBD. So again, some people find great relief from CBD or from, cannabis, whether it has THC, CBD, excuse me. I was not one of those people. Again, I tried it before I had akathisia and did the reinstating, and it did not help me at all. So that's what didn't help. Now, again, this is my list of what I believe helped over time. There wasn't one particular thing where I was like, oh, this is making a huge difference in my symptoms. I know that does happen for some people. But more often than not, it does seem like it's small things over time or just time itself. So I'm just going to read through my list and just make little comments on each one. So the first one is time. And I know people get sick of hearing that, and people are like, that's a stupid answer. That's ridiculous. Like, there's got to be something that can help me. And a lot of people you'll find in the success stories, people who have recovered from these injuries, do say, the number one factor in this recovery is time. And I would have to agree. It is, time is a huge, huge, huge factor in the recovery from these drugs. The second one, support. So I've talked about this numerous times in other videos. In fact, I recently did a video on this. Support is huge. So whether you have support from your family, some people do, some people don't, you have to find support from somewhere. You have to find someone who believes you, someone who validates you. It may or may not be a medical professional. I had to doctor hop a lot in order to find one who validated, believed, and diagnosed me. I had to take multiple steps to get my closest family members to understand what was going on with me. In particular, my mom, she had to speak with someone who had healed from severe effects from these drugs, and she had to hear that person's firsthand experience and recovery in order to fully understand. I mean, not from a firsthand perspective, like herself going through it, but from someone who had been there and made it out the other side. Or it could be in the form of a coach, or it could be in the form of healing buddies, someone or multiple people you find in these groups or somewhere online that you can walk through this together. That is a huge, huge factor. And not only because you will feel less alone, but because there is an exchange of energy, I do believe, especially if you're spending time with people who validate you, believe you, make you feel safe, make you feel heard, that is a huge thing. And I know some people will say, oh, well, this is all just a chemical brain injury. None of that makes any difference. That's only if you have, quote, organic mental illness, surrounding yourself with positive people. I don't believe that to be the case at all. I do believe there is an exchange of energy. Like I said, when you're spending time with people with healthy nervous systems, even if you can't in person, just chatting with people virtually, if you can. Some people can't even look at a camera. It's too overstimulating. That happened with one of the people in my support group. She was unable to look directly at the camera. So she would just look off to the side and just talk with us, and then over time she made great improvements. Now she's doing much, much, much better. So, that is a huge, huge important thing. I just cannot stress that enough. And everything you can do in this journey to feel safe. Your nervous system is in extreme fight or flight, and it's looking for homeostasis, it's looking for balance, it's looking for safety and comfort. And that can be almost impossible to find. And so if you can find even one person, or it can be impossible to find in yourself. And so if you can find even just one other person, it can make a world of difference. I know there is kind of a flip side to that where, oh, this person's just getting sick of hearing me talk about it. That happened to me. So if you can pull from more than one resource, all the better, because then it's not just, I'm relying on this one person to carry me through this, One is better than none, but more than one is ideal. So I needed to mention that again. I personally believe that this is more than just a withdrawal thing. I mean, I think if it was just that straightforward, reinstatement would always work. It would always bring relief of symptoms. And for a lot of people, it does the opposite. So, I mean, I think it's multifaceted. I think it has to do with toxic load and the inability to properly detox and metabolize these medications. Again, I've talked to people one-on-one personally who have healed, and one of the main things that they did to heal was open up their detoxification pathways and or completely just remove toxins from their body, specifically amalgam fillings, breast implants. And I think too that, again, it's cumulative. All of these things, our world is becoming more and more and more toxic. And once you kind of go down that rabbit hole, you realize that a lot of the things we put on our bodies, in our bodies, just are not ideal for health, and they can be contributing to, the toxic load. And so for me, once I removed as many chemicals from my surroundings as I could, I really believe that started to help me get better. Because in my first withdrawal, I never did any of that, and I never had a window. My second withdrawal, I really, really paid attention to all of those things. I made a video a long time ago how 7 months off, I had a setback from hair dye, as crazy as that sounds. But I guess there's other people who have experienced that as well. And just like, I mean, what you clean with, what you clean your house with, the type of food you eat, what you wash your clothes with, what you put, on your hair and on your skin, lotions, perfumes, what, air fresheners, candles, all of those things. It sounds crazy, but again, I really do believe that over time, those things make a difference. Makeup and yeah, fragrances and all of the scented stuff we use. And I think especially if you have histamine issues, that can be a big thing. So energy exchange, I talked about that. Getting out of Wi-Fi. So I actually, at one point early on in my second withdrawal, I got rid of my smartphone and I went back to a flip phone. I don't know, something intuitively told me to do that. And I was spending a lot of time with my grandma. And my grandma, doesn't have the internet. She doesn't have Wi-Fi. She's very simple, lives a very simple life. I spent a lot of time with her. Again, the energy exchange. I mean, when I could spend time with her, I wasn't able to leave the house for months, especially when I was reinstating in my very early withdrawal. And just like I do believe, and there seems to be more and more coming out about, the effects of blue screens, the effects of EMF, the electromagnetic field with all of these, cell towers and I don't know, all of this stuff, I think, again, contributes to stuff going on in our nervous system. And I would find that when I would just leave my house and leave, all of the electronics and everything and just go spend time just, with someone very simple and just getting out of that, it helped. Again, it wasn't a one-time thing. It was over time. I think that really does have an effect on our nervous systems. It's all like energy and yeah. Anyway, staying out of groups. So I've talked about this again before. The forums and the groups are a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, you can find the success stories, you can find healing buddies, you can find support coaches, you can find positive encouragement, but there's also the flip side of that, where there are tons and tons of horror stories, very protracted people. And then it's almost like a symptom in itself, where you just like have to find out who's the most protracted person and what's their story. And if you see any similarities between your own story and theirs, you just completely go into panic mode, full on meltdown, all the symptoms ramp up, and it just becomes like this vicious cycle. You almost can become addicted to the forums. So they are, again, like a double-edged sword. But I think if you can step back and like do whatever you need to do to step back. I remember I still have a ban from Benzo buddies. I asked them to ban me, and they will do that. Surviving antidepressants won't, as far as I know, but Benzo buddies will. If you say, you know what, I'm having a hard time staying off this group. I really think it would be, helpful for my recovery to come off this, but I am addicted to following people's stories or whatever, and they will ban you. And so if you have to go that far, go that far. Maybe again, find one or two people that you can continue to chat with outside the group, people that you trust, you feel safe with. You can go through the journey together. But I really think taking breaks from forums is almost vital for everybody going through this, especially in the acute phase. Swimming and walking. So I've always been one of those people who loves like powerhouse workouts. I love circuit training. I love high intensity aerobics, cardio. I used to do like high intensity exercise every day. I loved the euphoria it gave me. This was before the meds. I loved the endorphins. I loved runner's high. I loved all that. And then I became sensitive to exercise from these brutal drugs, and I had to go down to walking. And I was like, I hate walking. And so what I would do is, when I was connected to my support group and we would hop on and off video calls all day long, I would do that while I was out walking. So I'd be holding my phone and I would pay less attention to the walking because I don't really enjoy it. But I knew it was, good for my body. It was good to kind of calm my system down. I mean, again, it's cumulative. And I knew it was good for my general health, my blood sugars, my blood pressure. I had blood pressure and pulse issues when I was in acute. And so I just took things slow. Then I moved up to swimming. And so it wasn't like hardcore lane swimming, but just gliding through the water, especially when I developed all of the involuntary movements, the full body jerking, all of that. I found swimming to be really beneficial. Just like smooth, slow movements through the water was very calming for me. And so that was something that I did as well. Sunshine. So as much as you can get out into the sun, I think it's helpful. I know that people with histamine issues can have issues with the heat and the sun. And so, of course, this is going to be very individual for people. But I think, the general, not high end, hardcore exposure, but just the kind of daily recommended exposure, if you can get out into the sun or even sit in front of a window that has sun. I know some people are unable to leave their house or go for walks or whatever. So, but I think again, it contributes to general health. And so over time, I think it can be beneficial for us. At least it felt like it was for me. Hope stories. So again, this goes back to the forums. If you're going to be spending time on the forums, please cling to the success stories. Print them out if you need to. Put them on as a background on your phone, on your computer. Read them over and over and over. Reach out to those people who have wrote those success stories and talk to them if they're still on the forums. Some aren't. And just get them to give you some hope. Anything you can do and draw from, especially when you're in waves, is helpful. Staying off all meds. And so I know this isn't possible all the time. Obviously, people get into situations where they need stuff. But I have found personally that the more I can stay off medications, over-the-counter prescription, the better, because I do tend to have reactions to medications. Scripting and journaling. So regardless of what you believe, I think I was so desperate to do anything to feel better that I was like reading about sort of visualizing the future. Sorry, my nose is itchy. Visualizing the future, scripting as if, so writing in a journal or writing down how would your future self write in a journal if they were healed? So I would write as if it was the present moment, what my life looks like. And I would read it over and over and over and over, like multiple times a day. I am healed. I love my life more than ever before. This is what I do on a daily basis. And the crazy thing is, now when I go back and read that journal, a lot of it is coming true or has come true. So there's power in that. Also journaling or tracking your journey. So there's a difference between, hour by hour writing down all your symptoms and everything, because you can become obsessed with that and you can be like, oh my goodness, I'm in a wave, like what was it that triggered it? And you can just be rummaging through all your papers and being like, oh, what did I do? What did I eat? What did I expose myself to? And that's not healthy, because waves can be brought on with no obvious trigger. I think, but if you can, video yourself when you're in a window, or write down just general journal entries, and then you can refer back to, on a monthly basis, like not every day or even on a weekly basis. And you can see over time the improvements that you've made, because when you're always just focused on, oh, today sucks, I'm back in a wave, like when is this ever going to end? You can't see, like you don't really have proper hindsight. And so if you can get feedback from those around you, but even more so if you can write down firsthand, like, or record yourself. That was something that I did a lot of. And sometimes I felt like if my support group was busy, which there was often someone available, but if it was the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep and my mom was in bed or whatever, I would just grab my phone and start talking into it. It felt therapeutic just to get my thoughts out there and just to cry. And just all of those things were helpful for me. Balancing blood sugar. So I've been a diabetic for 25 years, and there is an intimate relationship between cortisol and blood sugar. So even if you're not a diabetic, if you are eating a lot of empty carbs, sugar, you're not eating enough protein or fat to kind of slow that release of glucose into the bloodstream, it can cause your blood sugars to go up and down more than is ideal, and that can trigger the release of cortisol. And the last thing that we need is more cortisol. So I found that if I was eating a lower carb diet and, cutting out refined sugars as much as possible, trying to like eat steady protein through the day and eat more often and smaller, I found beneficial. I did have flatter blood sugars on my continuous glucose monitor, and I did seem to notice that when that line was flatter, I did have a little less symptoms. So I wanted to mention that as well, because I think that can be important for everybody. And I know some people swear by certain diets, whether it's carnivore or keto or paleo, raw vegan. I've heard of stories of people saying all of those things, helped them or cured them. Again, it's very individual. Some people don't really find that diet makes much of a difference. Some people do. So that might be something you have to experiment with. But the greatest factor is time and support and hope. Hope is more powerful than anything else. You have to draw from wherever you can to keep the hope up, because I'm telling you, like, it does get better. And the healing for a lot of people is non-linear. It can be very rocky and frustrating as hell, but you'll get there. It took me 21 months off of all drugs to start to turn a corner, but I was already in this hell for 4.5 years at that point, because I had my initial first withdrawal, reinstatement, adverse reactions, and then the second withdrawal. So it was long, but I feel like in my second withdrawal, I did all of these things, and that's why I started turning a corner. Maybe it's not why, but I mean, I think it helped, or it didn't hurt for sure. Whereas in my first withdrawal, I was much more careless. I was still drinking alcohol. I was still taking over the counter medication, NyQuil to sleep, and diphenhydramine, and all those things, like just whatever I could do to help myself feel better. I just didn't know about all of these things. I've learned a lot in the last 5.5 years. And so that's just what I've noticed with myself and with others. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you have a question, you can email me. I'm getting worse and worse at keeping up with the emails. If you feel like it would be beneficial to schedule a session or even just a 15-minute free consult, click the link. And yeah, I am available Monday to Friday, 1 to 5 Mountain Time. And yeah, I hope everyone's doing well, and I will chat with you soon. Bye.